Hello, buongiorno. My name is Sara. I'm a full stack developer. By full stack, I mean React and Node. It works on both sides. So JavaScript, yay! Everyone is a full stack developer now. And I am Nikita FTW on Twitter with 2Ks because there was a TV show that took the other one. I really like football, really like horror movies, and I work for a company called YLD, which the logo is not showing because the internet is very good. So let's continue. But my talk is not about development, as you probably already know. So if you're not into that kind of stuff, please, less people that watch me shame my life, the better. Cool. My talk is actually a very serious topic, which for me is very weird, because I'm usually like the weird one, like the funny one, and by funny I don't mean like really funny, I mean like I just make dumb jokes. And doing like a serious thing to me feels very weird. Like I can't talk serious to normal people. If I find it very, very like weird. I just make jokes in the middle of things. So this is gonna be an experience. Yay! So we're gonna talk about mental health. And a reason that I want to point out that I think this is like a even bigger problem in our society right now, mainly with people that are about my age. So people who are millennials. I don't really know what defines a millennial. I'm not even sure I am a millennial. I'm not sure I want to be a millennial, but it's the thing that's what the name comes from, is that we are very used to instant gratification. And by that I mean things like Amazon Prime, for example. I mean, I don't have Amazon Prime because I live in the middle of nowhere, but imagine that you're a lucky person who gets Amazon Prime. You order something and then it's in your house in 2 days. For example, I wanted to buy a Nintendo Switch. A Nintendo Switch is 100 euros cheaper in the US. I ordered a Nintendo Switch to Ken Wheeler's house. Next day it was there. Amazing. The power of the internet. In a week he will be with me. So that's how it works in Portugal. It takes a week and a half. But usually we're very used to some things being instant gratification. That's the reason for the name of my talk. So ESLint, for example, 90% of your errors will be fixed by the fix flag. But real life doesn't have a fix flag, which is very frustrating, let me tell you that. And you actually have to solve your own problems. It doesn't have a fix flag. It doesn't have instant gratification. The things that really matter don't have instant gratification flags on it. Disclaimer, I just want to point out that this is my experience. Yours may be different. You may not even have an experience. I hope you don't. It's not a very good thing to have. It grows you as a human, but there are other ways you can grow as a human. You don't need to go slightly insane to do that. It's fine. I promise. So, I want to start using this quote that is, nobody realizes that it's too much green. The screen can't handle the green. Nobody realizes that some people expend tremendous amounts of energy merely to be normal. This quote was used by a friend of mine in the context of being an introvert, which is also true. I'm using it in this context of mental health, which is because some of us have a lot of problems with mental health, but we always try to act as normal human beings, because it's really hard to explain that to people. Mainly if you always also assume that people won't understand, which is, I don't know why, but we also always assume that, and we expend tremendous amounts of energy so that people won't realize how really fucked up we are in the brain, which is good. And why are you talking about this? Okay, I'm talking about this because it's important, and apparently no one really wants to go on a stage and explain to a bunch of people what happened to them and why they're screwed up, and I understand why now, but at the point I didn't, and now I am trapped forever and have to explain to more people why I'm screwed up in the brain. So that's why I'm talking about this, because people need to know that there is a way out, basically. And okay, and you're like, okay, that sounds cool and shit, and you sound like a thought leader. I know, right? But why you, though? Why are you doing this and not some actually respectable human being? I don't know, okay? The reasons that I could find is people invited me, and I have a couple of mental problems, disorders, whatever you want to call it. So I have a panic disorder, which is the main thing about this talk that I will talk about, and you will understand what it means if you don't by the name. It means you're always in panic. Okay. So I have a people phobia, which is a very like weird thing to explain because I'm not actually scared of people. I mean, I'm scared of teenagers because they're fucking scary. Teenagers are weird. I never got over the My Chemical Romance song, so I'm still scared of teenagers and heights. But I'm not actually scared of people. I am like I have this problem with the panic disorder and stuff, and that made me scared of rejection. So eventually I'll assume that they reject me. So eventually I'm scared of brains are fucking weird. I don't know. I also have intermittent depression that basically comes from the panic disorder. Like when it's worse, you get depressed and you just get randomly depressed because life is fun. And to some of you that know me either from real life or from the internet, I actually have people here that were working with me in my old office, so hi. Just like to him. So some of you that know me, like this may actually be a surprise because I look fine. I mean, not fine as in like fine, but in fine as in like sane. I look completely fine, and I say a lot of bullshit jokes, and everything sounds to be fine. And this is probably to prove the biggest point that I could ever prove in my life, which is mental health doesn't have a face. Just because someone looks fine, it doesn't mean they're not dying inside. It doesn't mean that. I want to point out that there, at the job that I currently am, there are 2 people who have this disorder. And they're the 2 people who make the dumbest jokes and light up the entire place because we keep making jokes. Because mental health doesn't have a face. You don't have to be always crying to have a depression. Because the thing is, most people think that depression is being sad. Depression is being nothing. You are nothing. You just feel all numb. Linkin Park. No, I'm kidding. I was really emo, okay? I also listened to... Okay, I'll get to that. You feel numb. You don't feel anything. You do things because you have to do things. You don't do things because they make you happy. You do things because society kind of forces you to do things. So you take a shower because you're supposed to take a shower. You go to work because you need to pay your rent. None of that actually makes you happy. You go to meet your friends because, well, if you don't, they're just not going to show up anymore. And you need friends. Maybe. I don't know. Okay. But what is a panic disorder? Okay, so a panic disorder is basically, in the lay terms, like an overblown anxiety disorder. And now you think, what is an anxiety disorder? I'm just going to go deeper to this, like a pyramid of if statements. So I've heard someone explain to me what an anxiety disorder is by saying the following, which is, so do you know when you're sitting in a chair and you tilt your chair to the back slightly and there's that moment where like you don't really know if you're going to fall or not, but that the chair is kind of like this? Does everyone know what I'm talking about? It's like that, but forever. So it's not fun. And basically a panic disorder is an overblown version of that. So what that means is that it's kind of hard to stand up and shit. Like kind of like the whole world is always constantly moving. Like, it's like you feel the rotation of the earth. So I've heard this description on the internet, and it's actually good for the internet. So a panic disorder is diagnosed in people who experience spontaneously seeming out of the blue panic attacks and are very preoccupied with the fear of a recurring attack. So by out of the blue, it means like you're coding in your computer. Imagine this following situation that is very likely to happen and has happened to me several times. So imagine that you're coding in your computer, like completely normal day, you're at work, you're coding in your computer, and all of a sudden it's like your brain's trying to have a conversation with you, but like a really fucking bad conversation because your brain's a dick. And your brain's trying to have a conversation and it's like, what's up, Sarah? What's up? Are you okay? It's like, yeah, I'm good. What if? Like, what the fuck you want now? Have you ever thought that you can maybe like dying or something? No. Why would I be dying? Like, everything is fine. What if? And you're like, shit. And like your entire body just goes bananas because you're like, what if I'm dying? What if the world that I know is going to go into, it's going to collapse into shreds and everything's going to be like Resident Evil, like there's nothing but there's scars and gas. What happens if I go into Resident Evil? I can't survive. And that is it. Like there's nothing going on and your body just doesn't know how to handle such a thing. So you're like, okay, that sounds fun. Yeah, I have a lot of conversations with my brain too. But they're usually not that traumatic, but okay. But what is a panic attack? Okay, so the first thing that I want to say is like, if you ever felt fear, but like tremendous amount of fear, but there was nothing wrong. Like if you're like sitting on a cliff, that's normal, okay? You're not supposed to throw yourself off the cliff. But there's nothing wrong with you. You're just sitting or laying down or doing whatever the fuck people do, and you're just incredibly, incredibly scared. And that is, in the essence, what a panic attack is. If you're out of nothing, you're incredibly scared. And if you have a panic attack somewhere, just imagine that 2 years ago I came to Verona, I had a panic attack here, I would never come back. And it's a fucking entire town. It's not even a place, it's a town. I would just be like, no, that place is bad news. No. So you're constantly scared that it's going to happen again. So basically you have a tremendous amount of fear, and then you're scared of the next time, and then you get a panic attack because you're scared of it, and brains are weird. That's what I want you to get out. So when you feel this amount of fear, your body just acts in very, very random ways. So you get like really fast heartbeat because you're scared. That kind of makes sense. You start shaking. Again, because your body doesn't know what to do with the adrenaline that you just gave it. Like, it's sitting down. There's nothing wrong. There's not an elephant in the room. So it's just like, what are you doing? And you just start shaking everywhere. You start feeling shortness of breath and chest pain. Again, because you're supposed to be running from something, but there's nothing to run from. You start feeling dizzy, or you actually faint. The dizzy part, it kind of feels like the chair, basically. It's not really dizzy. You walk like this because you don't really know what's going on. You're just like focused on your walking, so you don't fall. You get a lot of stomach pains. This is also true for anxiety disorders, like for random reasons. You get a lot of stomach pains. And these two ones are the ones that are really hard to explain. So feeling unreal or detached, the only way that I can think about how explaining this is that imagine that you're in a meeting and you know there are people around you and those people are talking, but you really don't listen. It's like you're not there. Like, all you hear is noise, and you don't feel real because you know that people are talking, but you can't care less because you're so focused on your thing that you think that you're not there. This is not real because everything just keeps happening so fast and so loud that it can't be real. A fear of losing control or going insane. This one I can explain by the fact of most people that have panic disorders, I realized this after I was diagnosed, that it explained it. Most people that have panic disorders don't actually drink alcohol. And I used to drink a lot of alcohol, and when I started getting this, I stopped drinking alcohol because anything that makes you lose control of yourself is like a fucking no-no because you already don't have any control. So you're just like, nope, screw that. And now I just don't do it because it's going to be very, very sad for everyone around me. No, everyone around me will be very happy. I'll just be very, very sad because it's like one beer and I'm going to be like, done. Because I haven't drank in like 5 years. And you get a fear of dying. Like, you're constantly scared of dying. And it's not like, I have cancer, I should go to the doctor. No, you fucking hate doctors. No one likes doctors. You have to wait for 4 hours in a waiting line in Portugal. No one likes doctors. You're constantly scared of just like passing out of nowhere. You're constantly scared of dying. You always believe that you're dying for some random reason. And you're like, that sounds really bad. That sounds like a horrible way to live. And I'm like, I know, right? I was there. Well, I lived like this for 5 years. And now you're wondering, like, are you fucking dumb or something? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like we've said, a lot, but not the point. And also, I just want to point out that I'm not the smartest tool in the branch. Like, I failed math in high school twice and changed high schools and stuff. I'm not the smartest tool in the branch. To me, it's kind of amazing that I actually became a programmer and actually have a job and a life, and I'm a useful member of society. But it's not that. Like, I'm like life smart, so that's something. It's not that. The thing is, you feel alone because what you're feeling doesn't make any sense. I had a happy childhood. Like, I went camping with my parents and had a happy childhood. Like, I never felt that amount of fear. And it doesn't make sense that you're just sitting down and you feel like dying for some reason. And I felt like what I was feeling, it didn't make any sense. Like, all I felt was fear of everything. It's like, I call this in Portugal like the chicken disease because you're such a fucking chicken. Because you're so scared of everything and there's nothing you can do. And that doesn't make any sense. Like, how was I going to explain this to like a friend of mine who's just like, hi Sarah, what's up? And, how you doing? I'm like, I'm scared. What the fuck? Like, you don't know, because imagine that if you never felt this amount of fear, you actually don't know it's fear. You can't pinpoint. You know that there's something wrong. You know that you feel weird, but feeling weird is not really a diagnosis that you can give to someone. Like I said, I've lived like this for about 5 years. And I want to point out that my main issue with mental health is the following. If you live with a mental health problem for a long time, you kind of don't see a way out. You just assume that that's your life, because you can still have a life. It's not like your leg is broken and you can't walk. You can still have a life. So you learn to live with it. you assume that it's your life now, that you're just different, and you have more limitations than other human beings, but you can live with that. And that's fine, because in your head, like, there's no way that no one else that I don't know, in your head, it's just like, you've lived with this for so long that there's no way out. So that's the way you live now, and that's the way you're going to live forever, and you come to terms with that. And that's not fine. It's like, fuck no. You should never come to terms with the fact that there's nothing you can do about it. There's always something that you can do about anything. Don't give up, because most of the things are fixable. 99% of the things are fixable. And sometimes happiness is a choice, and it's a very hard one, but it's a choice, and you can fight for it. Okay, so this started happening when I was about 20, and now I'm going to show you a photo of when I was 19. I was 19. I was so cool when I was a teenager. So I looked like this, and this, before I started taking the medication, this is the last time that I remember feeling normal. By normal, I mean not shit scared of everything, and not having anxiety attacks all the time and panic attacks all the time. And just for funsies, here's the photo that's on my license. This was when I was 18, and you can't really see it right there, but I'm wearing like a shirt, like a pleated shirt, like a lumberjack shirt, and like a tie, because I was so emo. And this was the time when I listened to Bullet for My Valentine, like I don't anymore, right? Okay, so I'm not the same person. I don't really recognize those two people, even though I still carry that license, and I will until 2044, because that's the only time I have to renew it. I actually had to get a new license. Like, do you want to change the photo? I was like, no, I'm good. I want to be 40 and look at that photo every day. I'm not the same person. Like, I don't recognize those two people. I know they're me, but they're completely different people from what I am right now. And I want to point out that I wasn't even funny back then. Like, I didn't have a funny bone in my body. Like, I was a typical white girl. Like, I was really white. I'm still very white, but okay, I'm less white. I don't know what that means. So I wasn't even funny back then. I didn't have a funny bone in my body. I became funny. At least I think I'm funny. I don't know. I'm just weird, and people think that's funny. And I curse a lot, and people think that's funny, mainly in the UK, because they don't curse. So I became funny with time, because one thing that you need to understand is that people have different defense mechanisms. So the thing that happened was, when I started feeling like this, people started asking me what was wrong, and I just made jokes, and people forgot to ask again, and so that kind of worked. And I was like, wait, this works, so I'm just going to make dumb jokes all the time, and it became me, basically. So now I'm this. So this is what happened. This is what my parents did to me. I don't know. So this is my story of what actually, like, how the events went down in this very tragical Romeo and Juliet of my life. So when I was about 20, at first I didn't leave the house, because this started happening when I was in, so we have this weird-ass thing in Portugal. Like, after school, like high school, you can either go to college, but I had really bad grades, or you can go to, like, this weird thing that's like a year and a half, and, like, it goes into, like, an internship and stuff, and I went to that, because that didn't require good grades. But that was from, like, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., so at first I basically didn't leave the house, because I didn't have to leave the house a lot. I only had to leave the house at like 5:30 to go to class. So I just didn't, because when I went outside, I didn't feel okay, so I just didn't leave the house. And the thing is, if you live in a place like London, for example, that's not a huge problem. Like, Amazon Prime delivers food to your house, Deliveroo delivers other types of food, and basically anything delivers anything. No one delivers nothing to my house. Not even buses deliver there. Nothing happens. There's one ATM. Apollo team has more people in their Slack than my hometown has in people, in general. Which I think is actually sadder for Apollo, honestly. Because I don't know how the fuck they handle that. But, so at first I didn't leave my house. And there's not a lot to do in a house where, like, nothing happens all around you. So I started getting worse, because I started confining myself to that space and only leaving at night, basically. And at night it was fine, but if I left during the day, it was like the sunlight. I don't know, kind of became like a fucking vampire or something. Then, because the thing about us humans in particular, because we think we're very smart. We think we're so incredibly smart. I think our code usually proves that. It's like, we write very smart code, and we think we're very smart. So we think to ourselves, I can fix this by myself, because I'm a very intelligent human. You're not, Sarah. You're not an intelligent human. So I went on the internet, and after scrolling through 3 pages of cancer, I try and figure out what was wrong with me, and I try to fix it by myself. The thing is, like, it obviously didn't work, because that's not how fucking life works. You can't fix this type of thing by yourself, because you're the problem. You can't fix the problem when you're the problem. Okay, and also want to point out that thinking that things will eventually go away doesn't actually make them go away. That doesn't really happen in real life. Like, I have this problem with everything in my life. For example, I have had 3 cars. I'm 26 years old. I shouldn't have not had 3 cars. This is a point that I'm trying to make. And the thing that happens with these cars is that usually something is wrong and I just ignore it. So I had this car once, which is like, I was driving and the exhausting pipe came out and I was just like, you know what, fuck it. And I drove like that for like 2 months. And it kind of broke the car. You know, like, what went away was the car, not the problem. And thinking that things will go away will not actually make them go away. You actually have to do things to make them go away. So after about 1 year or something, I actually started talking to other people. Like, I started talking to my family and my friends, and I started telling them what was wrong with me in my very, very bad Portuguese vocabulary. I have this really weird accent in Portuguese. It makes me sound like real bad. So I'm really happy I don't have to do that here. So I started talking to my family and friends, and I started kind of explaining what was wrong with me, because I didn't really know. I just knew I had an anxiety problem, and I was like, I can't do this. Why? I don't know. I just can't, okay? That's all I got for you. And the thing is that just the fact of talking to someone actually improved the situation. Like, and I made a smart move, which is like very weird in my entire life. So things got better. Like, I started leaving the house during the day, like where there was still sun outside. It was great. So I started leaving the house, and I started having more of a normal life. Like, I got a job, I had a girlfriend, I had a normal life. Like, life was decent. But the thing is, it was still there, and I still had days where I couldn't leave the house, or I couldn't do something. There were a lot of things that I still didn't do. Like, couldn't go to like a lot of closed spaces and stuff like that. But it was better. And this was like 2 or 3 years in, so I didn't think there was a way out. So anything actually was better than what I had. So I just learned to live like that. So that's wrong. Don't learn to live like that. So about 3 years in, I changed companies, and I became more active in the deaf community. So I changed to this really amazing company in Porto, and I started, like, by becoming more active in the dev community, I don't really mean like doing open source. I mean like following random people on Twitter. That's about it. And being a fucking creep. That's about it. And that was good and bad. Because the thing is, since I started getting more active in the community, I also started trying out the new things. This was the time where I was using Angular 1, so I really fucking needed it. So like, this was good and bad. Because the good part is that I started getting way better at my job. Like, I started trying out the new things, and this was a moment where I started saying, like, no, this looks like shit. We should change this. And I started getting better, mostly because I practiced and I actually cared. Because before this, I didn't really care. Like, it was my job and that was about it. And, okay, I started getting more responsibilities, which to someone like me may not be a very good idea. But since I started getting better, I started being the person that deploy things to production. And I worked on this website that, like, for all of America, basically. And that was not a good idea, basically. So I started being the person who was, like, called to deploy things to production, and all of the time I was just like, I'm gonna fuck this up. I'm gonna get fired, and then people are gonna shoot me. Because that's America, right? That's America, right? Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure that I don't have the wrong idea of America. We seriously had contracts in our part that was like, you can't sue these people if they screw up. So yeah, that's America. But the thing is, I didn't really feel like I deserved this job. So there's a problem with the internet. So I didn't really feel like I deserved this job. I didn't feel like I was good enough for this job, because imposter syndrome is a bitch. And so the thing is, I started working there until like 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. and sometimes at like 2 a.m. Thing is that no one forced me to do it, but I wanted to finish things because I wanted to prove to them that I was good enough for that job, because I didn't feel like I was good enough for that job or any job. I always felt like I just fell between the cracks of things and just eventually got hired magically. And I was like, so this girl, just like, how did you get? I have no clue how she got here. So I started working really late hours. And this is not good. This is not good. Like, people don't pay you to be at work from 9 to 9. He'll pay you to be there for 8 hours and to work your best, but not to give up your life. The thing is, like, people take lunch to work, right? Like, I took dinner to work. That is a whole new fucking level of what the fuck is wrong with you, is when you take dinner to work. I started showering, but that's because I went to the gym. Don't do that as well. Don't go to the gym. That's a horrible idea. The most frustrating part about the gym is that it had stairs to actually get to the gym. I was just like, are you serious right now? So, the thing is, I started feeling way more pressure than my brain could handle. And I didn't know this. Like, I thought I was fine because I've always lived like that. So, to me, it was fine. Like, it was going to go away because that obviously worked in the past. And things don't just repeat themselves, right? So, I started feeling way more pressure than I actually could manage with my fucked up brain. So, I started breaking down, like, real hard. By this point, I had panic attacks pretty much every day I was at work. And just want to point out that there is one thing that is really annoying when you're having a panic attack. So when I was at work, I sat down by this girl. Yeah, there was another girl who was a programmer. It was amazing. There were two of us. We had dinner every Tuesday. So we sat together, and like, I love her from the bottom of my heart, but she like does that weird-ass noise when she's chewing gum. And so basically, imagine that you're having a full-blown panic attack, and all you can hear is like this. And you're slowly going insane. You're like, you're not gonna die, you're not gonna die. And then in the back of your mind, there's like, you're like, maybe you're gonna die, maybe you're gonna die. So I just like got up and I was like, Sarah, what are you doing? I'm just gonna work over there, where there's not that annoying noise in my head. So by this point, I had these panic attacks every day. That thing didn't really help, but it wasn't a very good thing. And this job was kind of remote, so at the point, I just went to the office about 3 days a week. The rest of the days, I worked from home. I lived pretty close, so that was the max that I could do. Because like 5 days would be too much, and there was like so much noise. Also, this was a very noisy company, so because everyone was just so happy about it. I don't know, and like, there was so much noise, and I really couldn't understand through the noise, so like 5 days a week would be way too much. So I would go to the office like 3 days a week, and the rest of the days I would just work from home and make some bullshit excuse about it. So remember that when I was feeling particularly bad, I would hide in the bathroom for like 30 minutes, and it wasn't really for anything except getting away from the noise. Because when you're a girl in a tech company, there's no one at the bathroom. It's like, they're literally the only good thing. It's like the only thing that I'm like about getting more girls in tech. Like, I'm gonna have to wait in lines like the guys in React Amsterdam. I don't want to do that. That sounds horrible. So the bathrooms were actually for the entire building. So no one actually knew where I was, which was great. So I would just go into the bathroom and basically try and calm myself and be like, everything is gonna be okay if you just chill the fuck down. Just chill the fuck down. And sometimes it worked. Sometimes it really didn't work, and I just eventually went home. And at this point, I didn't really feel safe at work, and I didn't really feel safe at home because I eventually like moved out of my mom's house and everything and moved to Porto. And after a while, I moved back with my mom, and I lived like 30 miles away from Porto, so it was still livable. Because the thing is, I didn't feel safe at my house. Also, I didn't feel safe at my house because it wasn't safe at all. It was really just bad house. But I didn't feel safe, so eventually I was like, I'm gonna move back. Like, I can't do this anymore. Every time I get here, I don't feel like this is my house. I feel like this is a stranger's house. And so eventually, like after a couple of weeks of being in my mom's house, I had a huge panic attack at work. It was like, I think it was like 9:30. First of all, I never get to work at 9:30. I have no idea why I did that day. Second of all, nothing wakes you up more than a panic attack. Didn't even need coffee after that. It was dope. So I had this huge panic attack at work, and that's when everyone realized that there was actually something wrong with me, that I wasn't just weird. And everyone also assumed that it was physical, because when someone faints, 99% of the times it's a physical problem. Like at the time when that happened, like everyone was super worried, and they told me to go home because they were not dicks. And they were like, Sarah, please go home. And I was like, I have to drive for 30 minutes. Okay, just stay here for an hour then. Don't go into the highway like that. So that was the pinpoint where everyone was just like, okay, there's actually something wrong with her. And I remember that next day, I was going to work because, I don't know, I hate myself for some reason, and I couldn't get out of bed. And I precisely remember that I woke up and I wanted to go to the bathroom, and I literally could not go to the bathroom. Like, so I felt like super weak, like my body wouldn't do anything, like I couldn't walk. Thing is, like, I don't like walking in general, but I can. Those are two completely different things. And I remember that I literally couldn't walk, like I ate it to bed and everything because it was really hard for me to get up, and I thought I was having some weird blood sugar shit or something, I don't know. And what I did was, like, thinking that this would go away because I'm a very smart human being, I waited for about 2 days and in hopes that it would go away, and it got way worse, obviously. So the first day I remember that I couldn't get out of bed, and like the third day I remember that I couldn't even look at my computer. I couldn't really focus on anything, and all of the time I was just shaking and everything. And I remember that also that my mom told me to go to the psychiatrist. And because the thing is, like, my mom has a chronic depression, and my dad has like an anxiety disorder as well, which is very specific. He can only not enter churches. This was the best they got, so you gotta live with what you got, right? My mom told me to go to the psychiatrist, and I was like, Mom, this is not mental, like, what the hell is wrong with you? This is physical. Like, I just wanted to go to the emergency room because I honestly thought that I was dying because, again, I'm a very smart human being. And yeah, this couldn't be mental because it didn't make any sense because all the symptoms that I had were physical. Like, this wasn't a mental problem. And I had newsflash. This is the thing that I didn't know because I was such a fucking noob. Mental problems can actually demonstrate in physical ways. This is why when people have a depression, they tell you that they can't get out of bed. It means that they physically can't get out of bed. It doesn't mean that they just don't wanna. Those are two completely different things. One example that I had is, like, when people have depression, and I've heard this several times, people just like, you know what you should do? You should go for a jog. And it's like, you dick face. I can't even get out of bed, and you want me to go for a jog? When I was having these problems, a lot of people told me, you should go to the gym because, you know, hormones and stuff. And I was like, okay, I hate physical exercise, but I'm gonna do this, okay? I'm gonna go to the gym, and I'm gonna prove you wrong, and it's gonna be great. Went to the gym, and what happened was I was miserable and tired. That was about it. So the thing is, I do believe that physical exercise can help one of the two ways. If you like physical exercise, to that point, I value you as a human being, and I wish I was like you. The second point is that if you push through it, if you push through the part where you're just tired and miserable, it will actually help you because it does release endorphins. But if you have a depression or if you have something like this, you're not going to have the will of power to actually push through the things and actually make it good. You're just going to give up while it's still bad. Ops. So I eventually went to the psychiatrist because my mom said we could go to the emergency room afterwards. And I was just like, yes, I won this fight. Like, lying in bed, completely motionless. Like, yes, Mom. So when I went to the psychiatrist, I told him what was wrong with me. And I tried to explain to him how I felt and stuff like that. And I truly remember that he looked at me very seriously, and he just promptly said that I had a panic disorder. And, like, have you ever had an oh moment in your life? It's like, an oh moment was when you figure out something and just like, oh. So I've had like 2 of these in my entire life, and they both ended up with like, oh, fuck. So the first one was when I found out I was gay, and I was like, oh, shit, this is going to be fun. And the next one was when I found out I had a panic disorder. I was like, oh, this is going to be fun again. Great. None of them were fun. I also went to a Catholic high school, so not fun. The thing is, like, this explained most of my life. Because the thing is, like, this started demonstrating more when I was about 20, but I've had problems with anxiety from, like, very young age, but just ignored it because I'm, again, a very smart human being, as you can see from me doing this talk. So the thing is, he said, like, you should have gone early. I was like, no, what? No. And, like, I could do therapy and other stuff, like meditation and stuff, but the thing is, the only medication would actually help, like, in a sufficient way for me to not be screwed up for another year while trying to do meditation. And I just want to say that I haven't skipped one single med since I started taking this. Started taking this about December of, like, not last year, but the other year. And I haven't skipped one single med. And I'm the person that, like, has a cold for 3 months and doesn't take medication. I'm that person that is like coughing their way into work every day, and they're like, do you want to just take something for something? I'm not going to put fucking medication on my body, okay? And it's like, I'm not going to impure this pureness. I don't know. So I never took any medication. I was always like super like, not against medication, but like, I don't need it. I'm fine. I'm fine. Like coughing blood and everything. And all of this, you're wondering, like, what did you learn? Because you don't look like you learned anything. I promise I did, okay? One thing that I've learned that you may have realized is that mental health is hard. And it's also as important as physical one, because what sometimes we forget is that what I said is that mental problems do demonstrate in physical ways, because your brain affects your body. Magic. I didn't know, so that's fine. And mental health is really hard to control because you tend to ignore it more than you ignore physical one. So if you hurt your leg, you're going to get it fixed. Actually, I don't either, but you usually do. And you're actually going to go to the doctor and get it fixed unless you live in America and only have like minimum wage. In that case, you really can't. But you're usually going to get it fixed because you can actually see the pain. If you just feel sad or feel numb for a while, you're just going to ignore it because you think like, this is going to go away. The only way to help yourself is to walk on your broken leg. So again, legs. I don't know, I have a thing with legs, I guess. So imagine that you break your leg and you go to the doctor like a normal human being, and no doctor is going to tell you, you know what's going to help that leg, dude? You should take a marathon on that leg. If any doctor says this, please change doctors. But no doctor is going to tell you this because that doesn't make any sense, because the way to fix a broken leg is to rest a broken leg. And the only way to fix problems like this is to actually walk on your broken leg, like do things that scare you, get out of your comfort zone. But the thing about this is like, nothing is your comfort zone, so finding things that are out of your comfort zone is really easy because it's literally the rest of the world except your house. So that's an easy part. That was the easy part, is finding things out of my comfort zone. And I also believe that the trend that we started having in web development, which is like, I'm a junior for life, is actually kind of bad. Because imagine that someone that you really admire says this, and there are going to be, imagine there's 100 people who listen to this. 99 of them is going to be like, oh, he's so nice. He's like us. He's so nice. And then there's going to be one person like me who's like, oh my God, if he's a junior, I'm a baby. Shit. And there's always that dick. And I think just by doing this, we are kind of like perpetuating the problem that we have a lot with imposter syndrome, which we don't know how we got our jobs. And we're continuing this. And also want to point out that if you ever go to a conference and if you think of, look, all the people that have spoken in a conference and all those people are juniors, what the fuck am I? Like, it's fine not to be a junior. It's fine to admit that you've worked for a very long time and you're not a junior and you're a mid or you're a senior. It's fine. No one is going to judge you for that. It's fine. You can keep learning if you're a senior. It's fine. I promise. And now you think like, so you're better. So what changed in your life? I moved jobs, not because of the old job, but because I wanted to change. I moved jobs. I moved to a consultancy in London, Lisbon. It also works in London. I moved cities. This is Lisbon. I used to live in Porto. I lived in London for 3 months. I just want to point out that you look at this weather and it's like, that's so sad. That's all the weather there is. I remember that people were like, how's the weather in London? And I'm like, it's always 13 degrees. Like, it doesn't change. If it goes below 5 or over 20, that shit goes into chaos. No, they don't know how to handle weather changes. I don't know why. But if it, like, there was a time where it snowed a bit and it was like a snowstorm. I don't know, to them it was a snowstorm and like all public transportation stops. I don't know, that country is very weird. Not that country, the city. I bought a motorcycle because driving in cars is not sufficiently dangerous enough. So I'm just like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna buy a motorcycle. And now you think, yeah, but like you have to get lessons. No. Like I said, I live in a very particular country. So we have this thing in Portugal where if you have a car license for more than 3 years, and you're over 25, I was 25 at the time, you automatically get a motorcycle license up to like 125 cc's. I don't know why, but this is a thing. And I took advantage of the thing, and I bought a motorcycle, and I drove it home, and I fell a couple of times, and now I can actually do it. So it's not dangerous at all. What are you talking about? It's not like people die. No, they want to take this back. I'm very sad. They can't take my motorcycle away. Okay, not the point. I lost 20 kilos. This photo was taken in last year's React Amsterdam when I went there. And from May to like August of last year, I lost about 20 kilos. Which you may think, oh my God, that's amazing. It was fucking painful. Okay? It's like, sugar is an addiction. That's what I found out from that diet. God. I spoke in conferences. This photo was taken in React Day Berlin. And I want to point out that I had spoken in conferences when I was like having the panic attacks. And then I started speaking in conferences after I started taking the medication. And it's so easy now. It's so good. I love it. I met amazing people. The photo on the top was taken at AgentConf when the thing that happened was there was this developer there who started telling us about a movie that he thought it was amazing, but he couldn't recommend. And now everyone wanted to watch the movie. So we all got in at like 1 a.m. and started watching this random movie. The movie's called Mother. I can't recommend it. If you've ever seen it, you know why I can't recommend it. It took 10 developers to actually figure out what was wrong with the movie, what was going on in the movie. It's like random people just shouting things. And I started contributing to open source, actually in the community. Like I started doing things for open source. That's how I met amazing people. That's how I got into a lot of conferences and just mostly met amazing people. I started liking football again. This is a very random thing, but I remember that when I was 18, I was really like into football, like really into football, like a man, like a true Portuguese man. I was really into football, and then it started going away, like I stopped caring. And then I started to realize that when I started taking the medication, I started getting that again, and I was like, no. So I moved to Lisbon and got a season pass, because I'm one of those people. Yeah, got a season pass. Don't really use it because, you know, I'm here right now, but I got it. It's in my wallet. I traveled alone, which was something that was incredibly hard and almost impossible for me to do on my own. This photo was taken in Paris, .js, and now a story from the trip to Verona. I stayed 12 hours in Frankfurt. 12 hours. I'll explain what happened. So basically, my flight was canceled. I was flying from Porto to Frankfurt and then Frankfurt here. 2 hours layover, 2 hours turned into 13 because 2 flights were canceled and then the other one was delayed for an hour. So I spent 12 hours in Frankfurt with just Kick-Ass. I call him Kick-Ass. And we had a blast. Like, this is him having coffee. And this is him looking at this amazing pile of food. He ate all the food. You guys should be proud of Kick-Ass. We went on a tour of Frankfurt. If you like buildings, Frankfurt is your thing. They have a lot of buildings, a lot of banks, a lot of buildings. It's great. So here's a tour again. This is when we started getting sad about the plane never coming, and he started looking outside and be like, "It's not our plane." I was like, "No, man, it's not. We have 4 more hours in this goddamn forsaken place." Also lost my wallet. Someone found it and gave it to Lost and Found, so God bless Germany. Let's end with that. I also helped organize a conference. This conference was in London, and I can tell you by experience that if you value sleep in any way, don't do this. This is the worst thing you can do to your sleep schedule. Also, I had the brilliant idea. It was like, I'm going to pick up speakers from the airport, which doesn't sound like a very huge problem if you live in a town like Verona. It's a huge problem if it's London and you have 5 airports, and everyone schedules the trips at the same time. Yeah, also don't go to Luton. Luton is just bad. And like the most important part that I can take away from like all that happened to me is that I'm not scared anymore. Like I'm still scared of things, like I said, but I'm not scared of life. Like I'm not scared of what's coming next, and I embrace what's coming next. And if I have to stay 13 hours in Frankfurt, I'm gonna have some fun with it. Well, if it was 2 years ago, I would just stay in a corner and be like, where is my plane? And I would probably just take one of the 5 flights that I saw that were going back to Porto, which was so depressing. And I'm not scared anymore. And I just want to point out that please speak to people. I know that it sounds like it's diminishing and it sounds like you're putting your heart out for someone, but be selfish about it, because the thing is, it's really going to help you in the long run. So please speak to people. If you don't want to go to a doctor or anything, just speak to your friends, speak to your family, speak to anyone who's willing to listen. Don't speak to the internet. They're not friendly sometimes. Please get help, because if you think something is wrong, and if you know that something is wrong, but you just think, oh, everyone lives like that, they probably don't. They probably don't. And please get help, because we have this thing, I think it happens a lot in Latin countries, is that we think that going to a therapist is like for insane people. It's not. Therapists have therapists. They do. I've asked. Please just go to them. That's their job. They're there to listen to you, and they're not going to judge because they've heard a lot worse. I can tell you that. There is a way out. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. 99% of the things are actually fixable, and you're going to be fine if you just fight for your fineness, if that's a word. I don't know if that's a word. So my DMs on Twitter are always open. If you want to talk to someone who's not going to judge you, because I can't. Even if I try, that would be very hypocrisy of me. And you can talk to me, and I will listen. If you don't want to talk to me, that's fine. Most of the times, I don't want to talk to me, so that's fine. And just talk to someone, whatever it is, whoever it is. English is hard. English is very hard. Whatever it is, just talk to someone. Just let them know what's wrong with you. Just don't be ashamed of the problems that you have, because you wouldn't be ashamed of breaking your leg because it's not your fault. This is not your fault. It's not. And you just, the point where when you get to believe this, when you get to believe that it's not your fault and you're going to be fine, this when you get actually start feeling a lot better. So, thank you. All of my slides are on brain/fix.now.sh, and I hope you enjoyed the talk and I didn't depress the shit out of you all.